We good? There we go. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Parso. This is Bugs Life. Time starts once we start the first level here. So, in 3, 2, 1, go. So jumping in here, it's all pretty straightforward, just movement stuff. Nothing too interesting to talk about as of yet, just taking good lines through the level. Jump up here, and then we can do a small skip here at the end just to avoid us having to go all the way around, jump on the fence, and that's level 1 done. So these first couple of levels are both pretty straightforward. This one, there's not too much to it at all. It's just a long straight line, more or less. Just making sure we, not taking damage, not slowing down at all, cutting corners wherever we can, taking good lines.
Iridescent lighting. I like it.
So, small skip there. Avoid using the seeds that you could see there. Just jumping off the wall and saving a bit of time there. This game is mostly just small little optimizations like that. So.
These guys don't.
Butt slam that seed so that we can jump a bit sooner and bounce off the mushroom. And then that's level 2 done. So fairly straightforward game. Obviously we get some clips here and there from the movie. Now we get to fight Thumper. So this is the first of the boss levels. The way the game's set up is you've got 2 levels that are sort of standard movement, that sort of stuff, and then every third level will be a boss. So he's screaming at us, get half health, and he flies up, and then we can start again. And then we'll see this a lot through the game, but once you've done the last thing in a level that needs to be done, you can just exit and it counts as finishing the level. You don't necessarily need to wait for whatever the game wants to do to finish the level. So, not a whole lot to this one. Jump on a dandelion and just glide straight across, and that's pretty much it. Just slowing down a little bit as I head into some of these, just to get some extra height. More or less, you want enough height so that you land right here and start moving again.
Rain, rain, rain. Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
So this next level is the first one with some pretty interesting stuff. So we've got start off with some movement and then some jumps off of high ground, that sort of thing. To skip having to lug seeds around.
Why did it have to be mosquitoes?
So normally we need to grab that seed there, but instead we can just jump off of this.
Nope.
Like that.
Stop volunteering.
And so normally this level is a massive maze and you need to go around and find a bunch of what we're about to get here, these green ones that unlock the leaf from the seeds. instead of doing that, we're just going to grab a couple of those and do a skip towards the end of the level that saves us having to run around and collecting the other two that normally we would need to. So once we've got that one, we now don't actually need any others to finish the level. So from here we can just run straight through and complete the level in pretty much a straight line. I'm jumping and butt slamming around the corners there. As you saw there was a fly. That's just to avoid getting hit by that. So if I'm butt slamming, it'll just die and won't hurt me.
Big red box.
Might have placed that a little bit off. There we go.
Note to stop volunteering.
So coming up at the end here is a trick that I'm not sure anyone really understands, but we break that seed and then
This I
grind
can
up
use.
against that wall. We can just jump up and finish the level from there.
Am I
So that was
there
actually really
yet?
good.
Oh, yeah.
Happy with that. Yeah, as I mentioned, not really sure why that one works. There's just some walls and stuff throughout the game that you can jump off for whatever reason like that. Now we've got our next boss level. So the theme of the boss levels is generally just get a more powerful
Gotta get to the top.
berry, I guess, to throw,
Here.
and then kill the boss from there. So we come straight up here, get the blueberry, and then we can actually hurt the bird.
Oh yeah.
And again, as soon as we deal the last hit, we can just exit level and it counts as finishing.
Oh yeah.
So again, this level, we need to run around and collect grain. There's doors that only unlock once you have a certain amount of grain. And so we're gonna start off, missed that, it's annoying, but it's not a big deal.
Top box. Oh. I'm invincible.
So to get the grain from enemies, normally you need just a stronger berry, and so we're going to get that one here, and now we can actually kill enemies and they'll drop the grain, and we can collect it from there. So we've got to go back because I missed this one. You can hit that spider with the butt slam at a certain point, like right as you hit the ground, and actually get the grain from it, and it saves you having to do what I did there and go back to get it. You can just get it at the start of the level instead. So that's our first door that we've unlocked now. Run around and grab some more grain.
Bye-bye, Bucky. Where's the... Yeah! Nice one. Yeah! Bye-bye, Bucky. Oh, bye-bye, Bucky. Well, this is just like home.
It's our second door, and so from here there's one door left that normally we would need to collect 30 grain for. But again, at this point we don't actually need to collect that because we can just skip that door entirely by doing some precise jumps.
Excuse me,
So
pardon?
we come up here, come towards the door, we can just cut that corner there and jump straight over that door. And again, once we've touched those guys, it'll go to cutscene and we can just exit level because it's marked as done.
Oh, yeah!
So this next one's a bit more straightforward, but very similar to the last one. We just need to go around and find the rest of the circus troupe.
Yeah! Okay, now where do I find an orange?
Avoid that fly.
I need super jump.
Hello. Did Aunt?
So you'll notice I'm pausing there. As soon as they start talking, if you pause and unpause, it'll just skip that bit of dialogue. And so you can do that. You need to keep doing it over and over again, obviously, but basically makes these cutscenes that we need to sit through much shorter.
Bye-bye, Buggy.
Another cool thing here, you just come up, sit in this corner, and then jump straight up there to these guys.
Get used to this.
Never fear.
Now you...
Yes, yes.
And then once we're at the last one, again, once it starts, we can just exit level.
Oh, yeah!
So now we've got the next boss. This is the giant horsefly.
Yeah!
So we start this by coming up here. And we need to get this golden berry to actually be able to do damage to Thud. So once we've got that, we actually want to... Those blueberries he's throwing at us are sort of... they're weaker than the golden berry, obviously. But we actually want to get that so that at the end of the level, we don't need to sit through the golden berry coin that you get if you kill Thud with the golden berry. So it's just a small time save to actually collect one of those blueberries that he's throwing at us. So just moving back and forth, making sure we don't get hit too much by the stuff, and then once we get that last hit, we can exit level.
Oh, yeah!
So in this level, we're collecting the parts for the giant fake bird. And there's an interesting skip right towards the start of this that, for whatever reason, doesn't appear anywhere else. So, again, jumping off walls, we see that all throughout. But coming up here, I'm going to jump into... I failed it, so... But for whatever reason, if you start this cutscene and you're in the air when it starts, when you skip that first one, you'll get control over Flick again. And so you can save about 5 seconds, because during this cutscene you can just be running around and you can collect this and you'll end the cutscene over here. So shame to miss that, but that's annoying as well. But not a big deal, just jump up the wall again. And from here on out, it's more or less just running around collecting the rest of the stuff. Again, jump up the wall, as we are seeing all over the place. We need to collect the different levels of this seed, essentially. So we've got the dandelion at the moment, which we saw earlier. We drop that about there, and then go and collect this piece, or this upgrade over here. And then from there we have the rocket one, so we can jump in here, launched up to...
This is gonna work.
I've placed this too far away, I guess, so just gonna move that seed slightly. Alright, there we go. Alright, so just one more bit to collect. Run down here, there's another seed that we can turn into a rocket, and collect the last piece and exit level.
Oh, yeah!
So that was a bit sloppy, but not too bad. So here on the tree, we more or less just do this level intended, except for a little bit at the start. So instead of going forward, we're just going to turn around here and scale the side of the tree. But the goal of this level is we just need to run up the tree and get Dim to come and pick up all the blueberries, I think they're called. But we can just jump up the side of the tree here. There we go. It's really dark, hard to see. But yeah, so the weird thing about that cutscene skip that I mentioned in the last level is, for whatever reason, that's the only cutscene in the game that works like that. All the others, like all of these ones that we see every time we collect a blueberry, for whatever reason, just can't be skipped.
Acorns galore. Dim, down here.
So we have to do a lot of sitting around waiting for Dim to drop down and pick up the blueberries. We can see the bird up the top there, which is where we've got to get to at the end.
Thanks, Rosie.
So we would have seen something there, just a letter sort of off in the distance. That's where some of the other categories for this game come in. So this obviously being any percent, we're just trying to complete the game. But all the grain and the flick letters, as well as killing enemies, factor into the 100% run. And so each level has 3 tokens, one for collecting all the grain, one for collecting the flick letters, and one for killing all the enemies with a golden berry.
Dim, I could use your help.
Blueberries rock.
So just making sure we get all the ants as fast as we can while avoiding falling off some of these branches.
Swinging. Whoa, acorn.
Last one here.
Dim,
And then,
down
for whatever
here.
reason, we now also need to go and talk to Dot.
Give Ant a lift.
And I'm not sure where Dim is taking them at this point, because we're at the top of the tree, but he's doing whatever he's doing with them. And then once we've talked to Dot, we can just end the level there.
Oh yeah.
So now we're fighting Molt. This is a bit of an interesting boss in that,
Okay, Mole.
for whatever reason, the ants think they're trying to help, and they keep throwing standard berries at us like we can see there. So the first thing we need to do is grab a power-up seed, and then once we get that, we don't want to get hit by those berries, obviously, because it'll make our attacks weaker and we won't be able to beat him. So to avoid that, we come in here, and you can see that they're still trying to throw them at us, but because we're stood under the thing that I'm standing under here, they can't actually, or they'll just hit that and we won't collect them. So we just sit under here. Every time he gets up, we can throw a berry at him, and the fight's easy from that point.
You can't defeat. How? You can't.
So coming up to the last set of levels here. This next one's pretty straightforward. We just need to collect some seed power-ups, and then from there we can pick something up, and there's a little bit of RNG in how quickly we actually
You
are able
pathetic ants
to
may have scared off most of mine,
hit Hopper,
but
but
I've got your princess.
I need to grow a berry shooter.
come on, this is...
Whoa, hey, rock.
Alright, there we go. That was annoying. So the first ones that we need to collect are the green ones. So we've got 3 already. We just need the last one, which is down here. Make sure we don't get hit. And then we need to come over here and collect just 1 gold power up for the
This I
seeds.
can use.
Once we've got that, we can then come over here, jump up this wall as we have been all throughout.
Yeah.
Make that one the launcher one. Launcher seed. Pick it up, and then we need to come up here, stand right on the edge, and hope that the camera works. And there we go. And so now we just wait. We need to hit Hopper 9 times. So it's 1, 2, and then he'll drop Anna, and we can end the level from there.
Oh yeah.
That's that level. Now we're coming up to probably one of the levels I'm worried most about, the riverbed flight. So the annoying thing with this level is if you take too much damage throughout, it'll spawn you right back at the start of the level. And because, as you'll see here, when I collect grain, it speeds me up pretty massively. And if you die, you're back at the start of the level and there's no grain because you've already collected it all. And so getting through the level at that point is incredibly slow. So if I die, I more or less have to exit level and re-enter. So hoping not to have to do that, which isn't looking great.
Why is this happening?
Picking up grain. Just a little further. You little termite. Picking up grain here.
Really? Okay. Well, that's frustrating.
Oh yeah.
So let's try that again.
Yeah. Fly, Ada. Fly. Stop, princess. Just picking up grain here. You little termite. Look out!
Yeah, just took some unfortunate damage early on in that last one that makes it hard. You're more or less going to take damage at some point if you're trying to get through quickly. And so to take 3 damage really early on like that makes it hard.
Grain, grain, grain.
Why is this happening?
But yeah, especially because a lot of these enemies move around in unpredictable ways. It's not going to be the same every time you do the level, and so it's hard to sort of predict where everything's going to be. And of course, you can always get caught by Hunter if you mess up and run into stuff as well.
Come on, Ada.
But that's the end of the level there. And now we go on to the last boss fight, which also has a fair bit of platforming in it. But very close to the end of the game here. Once we deal the final hit to Hopper in this level, that'll be time. So
Yeah.
we've been using the butt slam to just do platforming that we might not be meant to do. It's unfortunate.
Superberry.
So again, as the theme is, we just need a stronger berry than the default one you get. So we collect that, and then we just chase Hopper around for the rest of the level. For whatever reason, you need to hit him a bunch here before he actually takes any damage, whereas everywhere else, you just hit him once and he'll move on. From there, we come through here and just start doing some platforming, chasing him around.
This one little ant. You're mine, ant. Little run.
Really good soundtrack in this game, by the way.
You're mine, ant. tell you first.
Taking some damage isn't really a big deal here. Even if we get towards the end and die, you'll come straight back at the end and you can just finish him off from there.
Not used to a fight, are you?
Just one squish.
So now we just need to climb up the wall towards the bird's nest, throwing a berry at him every now and again so that he keeps on moving.
Oh, come on! Come get some! Now! You're mine, man! Ah!
I'd say it doesn't matter too much, but I would rather not die here.
Eat berry!
Just one squish.
And then now we just need to hit him a bunch here.
Little run?
You can sort of move around and then that's
Little
time.
run?
Sorry.
Help me! Ah!
So that was Bugs Life any %. It's not too bad. Not sure what we have up next. Looks like Harry Potter. So that'll be really good, I'm sure. So thanks everyone. Have a good PAX.